Hello and welcome. It is 3 o'clock. It is the 24th day of August 2021. I'm your Grumpy Guide to all things gaming, the OGGM, your source for all the news, weather, and sports that relates to tabletop role-playing games. And we're going to do a deeper look into the story that we posted yesterday about physicist Dr. Robert Hovedin and the copyright he claimed and received for his magic deck. A very thin copyright at best. This is not the first time this gentleman has tilted his spear, so to speak, with the windmills of the copyright law. In fact, it's something he's done a couple times, mostly to prove he could and to prove how confusing copyright law really is. Now, yesterday, we speculated the guy did this because he was an asshole. And if you read the argument, he's sort of a champion of free speech and a champion of creativity, and he's doing this to prove how thin and confusing copyright law is and how often things are copyrighted by mistake, because copyright doesn't copyright hard work, it copyrights creativity. To explain, you could spend years and years and years compiling a complete logical list of every book in a library. You couldn't copyright that. On the other hand, you could make a haiku and copyright that, and nobody else could, do anything with that haiku, but you could print, reprint, do anything you wanted with that haiku for the rest of your life, but nobody else could, because copyright doesn't have anything to do with hard work. It's about creativity, and copyright law is a mess, and there's a lot of weird loopholes, and this gentleman does these things to prove the loopholes exist. And being an asshole myself, I of course appreciate anybody who does something to prove that it can be done and who pokes holes in the rigidity of bureaucracy. I have had multiple issues with bureaucracy over the years, and I've had to fight tooth and nail against the constant incompetence and mind-numbing sludge that is bureaucracy to get things accomplished. And there are still things I'm fighting. I mean, even today, I am involved in a bureaucracy argument with my former employer, and I'm involved in a bureaucracy argument with the labs who are supposed to have done my test after my recent surgery and who now claim they've lost the results. So yes, on the surface, we can say, yeah, he's a jackass. Yeah, he did it to prove a point. And he has copyrighted a magic deck under a very thin copyright. So a thin copyright would be something like a guidebook, because a guidebook is an expression of opinions. You describe everything in a city and you give opinions of what you think the best spot in the city is to camp out in, or have a picnic, or get the best bread. And your opinion is creative because somebody else could do a guidebook about the exact same city and say, oh no, actually that's the worst place to go camp or picnic or get a loaf of bread. I mean, I have examples of this in my recent research in regards to places I wanted to move, because literally I can find places that say one thing is positive, and then I go on a different web page and it says the exact same thing is negative. So you could copyright that, but you can't copyright a recipe, because a recipe is just a list of ingredients and what to do with the ingredients and when. You could copyright the name, though, if it's completely creative. So he copyrighted his magic deck, and the problem is because of the thinness of the copyright regarding his deck and the weirdness that is the Magic the Gathering population, is the potential damage this can do. Because now that he has proven he can, other people are going to do the same thing, and that's really going to have an effect on tournament play. Because one thing about tournaments play is you see a lot of people playing basically the exact same deck and just hoping, to get an advantage over the other guy. I mean, the winner of the Grand Prix of this year's Magic the Gathering highest whatever and his opponent pretty much played the exact same deck. And the only reason why guy A won over guy B was guy A was slightly more creative and knew how to time things better and just had more luck and just whatever, you know. But now they're saying, oh, because this guy, Dr. I don't know what that noise is. I apologize. Dr. Robert Hovedin has copyrighted his magic deck. Other people can, and what does that mean? If I play the exact same magic deck, am I violating a copyright? Am I breaking the law? Does that mean I can't play it at a tournament because now people are copyrighting magic decks? Or does it just mean I can't use the exact same magic deck in the exact same order with the exact same cards he used, but I could use the list and just replace cards? Because copyright infringement comes down to basically 3 points of difference. You can make something that's almost exactly the same as something else in copyright as long as there's 3 points of difference between the two. Aquaman, Submariner, Thanos, Darkseid. Same guy, but there's enough difference that company DC and Marvel can't get in a fight over between Submariner and Aquaman because there's 3 points of difference, one of which being the name. So I cannot, under the thinness of this rule, use the exact same deck with the exact same cards with the exact same art, because that would be violating the creativity of his copyright. But if I just look at the list of the cards he used, Wrath of God, Swamps, Plains, Demonic Tutor, and found variations of the cards that use different art, or even a card that did the exact same thing that's worded differently. For example, Demonic Tutor is gone from Magic for a while and was replaced with a different card with different art that did the exact same thing because there was a while where Magic wasn't using the words demonic. Same with Unholy Strength. Remember when they replaced Unholy Strength with Feast of the Unicorn? Exact same card that did the exact same thing. They just changed the name. And the artwork was way more disturbing than the artwork for Unholy Strength. But it said Unholy Strength and it had a symbol of a pentagram. Symbol of a pentagram, bad. Decapitated unicorn head, not so bad. So I could make the exact same deck by using the same cards as long as they look different, are different, or even if I found a card that did the exact same thing that had a different name, like replacing my Unholy Strength with Feast of the Unicorn. I'm sorry, I don't know what that noise is. I'm going to wrap this up because apparently there's construction going on, and once again, I was not informed, so once again, my landlord is violating my lease. So yes, definitely, why did this guy do it? To prove that he could. And because he's done it before, and to prove that there is thinness and weirdness and incompetence involved in the copyright law. Is it harmless? On the surface, yeah. I mean, no one cares. Deeper down, if you know what we know about the Magic crowd, it could be very damaging because of the competitiveness of decks. And let's face it, we have seen people who play Magic do some really screwed up, inappropriate things, including cheating and physically assaulting people, because Magic, face it, is a drug, it's an addiction, it's gambling, and people will do things if, just the history of Magic is filled with the history of just really bizarre things, often inappropriate. So is this copyright going to lead to further potential problems with tournament level Magic? Yes, it will. So in the end, all he's done is created more problems and potential more conflict and potential more bullshit in the Magic the Gathering community, just to prove a point, which comes us back to the first initial, that the guy is a jackass. But as a fellow jackass, I totally appreciate him conducting an experiment to prove that he could do this, and then doing it, and then going, aha, with that. But then, of course, he doesn't really realize maybe the possible outcome. Anyways, I'm going to cut this off here because there's some kind of construction going on outside. I apologize. I was not informed there was construction going on. I am your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you appreciate this content and want to talk about the weirdness of Magic the Gathering or copyright law, let me know. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Help me hit 1,000 subs. Until then, remember, don't copyright your hard work. Copyright your creativity. And I'm copywriting you getting off my land.